How did this novel change your life?
I'm sorry, Jose.
How did this novel change your life?
How did the book change my life?
Exactly.
Well, you know, anytime you sell 1 million of anything, it'll change your life. If you sell 1 million can openers, you know, and if you make 10 cents on each one, it'll be pretty good. And for those of you mathematical people, that's $100,000, pretty good. But, you know, it gave me a platform when I was a young man. I was just 29 years old. And it gave me a platform to speak to all of the firefighters in America, but also to all American people. I think I am the most published writer on the New York Times op-ed piece. You know, something terrible happens, they call me and they ask me to write something for them. So that's the, you know, big newspaper, the New York Times, and that came about from that book. So I have a standing, and that's what really has changed my life. I have 5 children. One of them works here with me. All the others went to, you know, they got good educations and have good jobs. I think that I would have led a good life even if I didn't write a book. I think I would have been a school teacher probably. I love school teachers. They're also underpaid. And I think that I still, you know, I would, just because of the way I am, my children would have had good educations.
Are the characters in the novel, in your book, real or fiction?
No, it's completely real. This is Report from Engine Company 82, because, you know, I wrote 14 books, and so sometimes people confuse one book with another. But at Engine Company 82, every single thing is true. And that's what I had to be very, very careful about, because, you know, in the fire department, when you write about so many men, you have to be pretty accurate in what you say. And you need to be very direct and honest with those people and with your portrayal of them. So, and I was, and so consequently they felt very good about it.
So are the names real?
No. The names were changed, and the publisher made me do this, and I'm sorry that we did. But for instance, McCarty, his real name is McCarthy, so I changed one letter in every name, so they could tell who they are and their families could tell, but I had to change it because the lawyer said, unless I go and get a signed document from every one of them, I could not publish their names. And so it was difficulty for me, and there were just so many people I couldn't ask them all to sign documents. So I just changed the name. Like Willie Knapp, his real name, I call him Nips in the book. Or Benny Carroll, his real name is Benny Cassidy. You know, and they all sort of grew up with these names themselves, right?
Did you still keep in contact with those firefighters?
Oh yeah, sure. I talked to Charlie McCarthy all the time. Vinnie Bolin is another guy. He's now the head of the number 2 man at the International Association of Firefighters. Yeah, I talk to them all the time. They're good friends.
Did you lose any friend on September 11?
Many.
Have any of them been part of your novels?
No.
The public?
No, although one, you know, Freddie Scholes, I've written about in one of my books, I don't know, but his son died. He was a firefighter with me, and his son died in 9/11, so there was that connection.
The public image of firefighters among New Yorkers is that of muscular men that appear in calendars. On the other hand, you are a man with intellectual characteristics. Is that both converge in the New York Fire Department? Is it frequent?
Well, I wish Pete Hayden were here, who was the chief of the fire department in New York, and you could meet him. But he is very, very thoughtful man, and so yeah, I think it converges very often. There are a lot of lawyers in the New York City firemen who are lawyers. There are a lot of firemen who are professors. I worked with one fireman who was the president of the American Society of Orchidologists. What does that mean?
Oh.
He grew orchids, and he was an expert in orchids. So they meet all kinds of people. You know, there are 12,000 firemen in the New York Fire Department.
What kind of reflection do you have after serving the public as a firefighter and knowing that there has been talk about the bribes to firefighters with regard to the Triangle Shirtwaist Company fire of 1911, the Coconut Grove fire of 1942, and the Happy Land Social Club fire of 1992?
I read books about all of those fires, and in fact, I wrote a book called Dennis Smith's History of Firefighting, which I wrote about them, each one of those fires. I think that the Coconut Grove fire, well, let's go to the Triangle fire first in New York. 405 girls died there. Most of them jumped from the roof. Most of them were girls. There were some men. They worked in the garment industry at sewing machines.
But they violated codes, right?
They violated the codes, the building owner, because the girls were going out on the fire escape taking cigarette breaks. So they locked the door, chained it and locked it. And so consequently those girls, so many of them died. And there was also a problem with the elevator in that building. The elevator was out of code. To my knowledge, no one ever went to jail and paid a big price for that. And it's a terrible thing. Building codes are very important in your world, but not many people take the time to think about them. We had a chief here in New York, John O'Hagan was his name. He was the chief of the fire department. He was very much against the building of the World Trade Center. He said the open areas are too great. There are not enough exits. There were only 3 exit stairwells. They weren't big enough. But the Port Authority had the right to circumnavigate the building code. They had the right to do whatever they wanted to do because they're a separate state entity. And so they built them anyway. And O'Hagan was right. They were not built right. And that's why they collapsed.
What did the firefighters learn from 9/11?
I don't think that the firefighters learned anything more than the American public learned. And even the people in Spain or Peru or Mexico or any Hispanic country, that you have to be vigilant, that their world is a very dangerous place, that there is a group of people who are radical Islamic people. They are very much against Western civilization. They are against the way we live our lives, the way we think, the way we respect our women, the way we educate our children. They're against all of that, and so they want to bring our society down because of their religion.